Hey everybody, welcome to Module 4. Last time I remarked about the pacing for our class for getting our central writing project done, and I want to draw your attention to that again. This week, I'll be getting you feedback on your writing plan, and at the same time, you'll be submitting that plan for others to look at for further commentary through peer review. Only just now are we starting to talk about creating a full draft for this project. So what I want you to know is that us devoting so much time to preparing to write is not because the class is designed to take baby steps because you can't handle anything else. The pacing is actually a good model for what professional writing in academia is like. So for instance, my current writing project is a book on an early 20th century Native American author. I'm still in the drafting process on it. But before I began that, I put in an entire year of research, note-taking, and planning, making that by far the most time-consuming part of the whole thing. So us doing a writing project in this course that uses roughly half of the time for that same pre-writing stage is actually just a good lesson about, it shows appropriate time management for what writing is like in when you're writing, academic stuff. So keep that in mind. This week in MindEdge, the lessons touch on a couple of things which are pretty important. I don't think they spend as much time as they should on stressing them, but that's why I'm talking to you about them now. The first one is that we have an exercise in outlining. Now, simply put, outlining requires you to highlight for yourself exactly how you are going to structure your paper. It emphasizes the functional aspect of your writing. You're going to have, your writing is going to be made up of different parts. You're going to have an introduction. You're going to have body paragraphs. You're going to have a conclusion. The intro and the body paragraphs and the conclusion, each of them is going to be structured a little bit differently, and they're going to be doing different things functionally within the paper, and you've got to be aware of that. While they're each doing their own thing, you also have to be keep in mind that they all are working together to further one main message that you're trying to get across. So each part is shaped differently, each part works differently, and they come together for a holistic purpose. You keeping that in mind and planning for it will only help the end product be more effective. All right. So, put some thought into this. The second thing in MindEdge is about source integration. And I'll be putting up some more on this in my announcements. In brief, what we're talking about is how you represent the evidence from your sources in your own writing. This breaks down to whether you use quotation or paraphrase. In the world of academia, which you use depends a lot on what style you're opting for. In MLA, emphasis is placed on the importance of the author. So that style likes quotation. We want to take chunks of words that have been specially made by an author to represent that author. All right, they're worth repeating, so we use quotation. In APA, they tend to think about the author as more or less a way to label research. All right, it's not so much an author as it is a conduit of information and knowledge. All right, they label it by the author's last name and by the date, and then it's cataloging rather than giving credit. All right. So the emphasis is on the data itself. So they tend to favor paraphrase. Both styles, APA and MLA, do use quotation and paraphrase. They just, as I say, they have preferences for which to use. You, just to be clear, should probably use both. And this is to show your facility with each method. And again, it adds a little bit of variety. If you quote, it kind of feels like, you're doing the same thing over and over. If you paraphrase, same thing, that it seems like it's all you, and, you're not giving enough emphasis on, what you're taking from sources. All right, so mix it up a little bit. Now, let me take one moment to add one more thing about quotation. Many students think of the quotation as a handy way to add length to their papers. And I want to caution you on this. When you write an argument, part of what you're doing is creating a sense of yourself as an authority who the reader should trust. All right, that's a big part of what you're doing to win your argument. One important way that you do that is by showing that you have evidence from various sources at your fingertips. You can quote them. All right, so you're trying to make a point. You bring in a quotation and you say, see, this is exactly what I'm saying, and other people think this too. All right. However, as you insert the words of others, you also risk diverting the attention of the reader from you to the person you're quoting. So if you insert a long, comprehensive quotation showing how the source has thought through the problem, it may be that the reader will stop considering this as support for you, and they may start thinking of the source as the authority. All right, and that's what you don't want to happen. The source is there to make you look like an authority, not to replace you. So you don't want to undercut what you're trying to do by shifting your reader's trust from you to the source. So what you need to do is always keep in mind the order of precedence for using your sources. Make sure the evidence is working for you and what you're trying to do, not just filling up space, or just as bad, substituting for your own insight. All right, so think about it. Basically what I'm saying is, if you're trying to put in a long quote, maybe think about it. Think about it twice, because I'm going to say something back to you about it. All right. So, for now, if you've got some stuff, mapped out, feel free to use it. We'll work on it, because, we've still got this writing plan to get through for my feedback. We've got draft coming up for more feedback, but I'm just telling you right now, that's going to be something I'm going to say to you if it happens. All right. If you need to get a hold of me about anything, if you have questions, feel free to do so. You know how to do that. Until next time, adios.